The 2024-25 Women's Super League is on the horizon. In preparation, we're previewing every single team and discussing how they'll shape up over the next campaign. We take a look at the transfer business conducted by the teams so far and offer suggestions of who else they should move for before the season gets underway. Today we cover Everton. Last season, the Toffees slumped to mediocrity, failing to score many goals, but providing a solid enough defence to see out matches. In this video, we discuss why they need a striker who provides a more clinical touch and the risks that Everton might slip further down the WSL table. This is our 2024-25 season preview for Everton. Alright, let's talk about Everton then. I'll be honest here, I am a little bit worried for Everton this season. Last season, 23-24, was already a step back. They slipped from 6th to 8th in the table. And it's not been a good window so far for Everton. They haven't really addressed some of the concerns. I know there's still 2 weeks till the season starts, and obviously they've still got a couple of weeks after that to get transfers done. But I'm slightly worried for this season with Everton.
Yeah, it was a quite tough campaign last season for Everton. Things didn't really go right. I mean, they slipped down the table despite the fact that Bristol City were. I'm not saying that I know Bristol City were last, but you think Bristol City, Aston Villa, so many sides also struggled. For Everton to slip down the table was pretty impressive, to be honest, because there were so many other sides that really didn't have good seasons either. Everton will want to build on that. They'll want to improve on last campaign. But as you say, I don't think there's enough evidence here that says that they're going to do better than they did last year.
No, very true. I think with Everton, they just don't score enough goals. You look at their goal scorers from last season: Katja Snois, Martina Piemonte, Megan Finnegan, all joint on 3, Aurora Gali as well. They don't have someone they can rely on to put the ball in the back of the net. They had so many different goal scorers. And obviously it's good to have a range of players who can score, because that means you're not over-relying on one player. But you do need someone that you can rely on at times to go and get a goal. You need to have the player that you're trying to get the chances for. But they've not really had anyone. I know they've never had this season. They didn't really have a consistent striker because Piemonte and Snois sort of shared that role. And if one of them wasn't there and you add their total together, that would be 6 goals for someone. So maybe you can argue with Piemonte leaving, Snois will take up that starting role and she'll score more goals. But I do think it's a little bit of a concern for Everton this season. Let's have a look then at the business they've done so far. We'll start with outgoings. There's some big ones in here. Tony Duggan, of course, has left. They've also lost Annie Wilding. Both of them have retired or left on free transfers. They've not joined another club yet. Ellen Dale has gone to Sunderland. Not a huge loss there. Hannah Bennison, though, going to Juventus. That is a big loss because she's a good player. They've lost her for not a lot of money. I think it was a free transfer. So that is a big loss. Someone who played a lot of minutes for them in midfield last season. It's a big loss for Everton.
Yeah, very much so. And you know it's a big loss when the player you're losing goes and joins a club like Juventus. Clearly, she is a very, very good player, and it is going to be a loss that Everton need to replace.
Yeah, and then Katrina Vea, I think, given the fact she stepped down should be a step down to Crystal Palace. We don't know this season. But the fact she stepped down, it probably was time for her to leave. But that is still a big voice, a big face in the dressing room, a lot of leadership they've lost there. And to a team who will be up against them this season. I'm not sure they'll necessarily be rivals for position. You'd hope that Everton fans will hope they're away from that relegation conversation. But if they are dragged into it, they've sold directly there to a relegation rival. Or let her leave on a free, obviously, but she's joined a relegation rival.
And the fact that she's gone to Crystal Palace once again shows that she can still cut it in the WSL. So then you start to ask questions as to, did they really need to get rid of her? Do they really need to let her go? Could they have done more to try and keep her?
Yeah, potentially so. Martina Piemonte, the next one, joining Lazio. That is a big loss. Piemonte is a top player. I think that's a big loss.
It is, but when she scored 3 goals last year, it's one of those where, I think on paper, it's a huge loss, and we know the quality she has, but clearly WSL didn't really work for her, especially last season, didn't quite go to plan. So perhaps, it isn't. I think definitely in terms of her quality, it is going to be a big miss. But in terms of her numbers, I definitely think you can find a player that can put up the same, if not better, overall digits.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that might be maybe the case. Then we can't really talk about the final outgoing without talking about one of their incomings because she's a player signed and immediately loaned out. It's Ines Pereira, joining from Servette, has been loaned out to Deportivo La Coruña. I don't really understand this one because Pereira starts for Portugal, is a decent goalkeeper. If you're going to bring her in, why not play her?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
They've loaned her out to Deportivo La Coruña, presumably for more experience, but yeah, I don't really
get that.
Can't
Why? Explain it.
No, but then let's talk about some signings that are good then. Toni Payne coming in from Sevilla. She tends to play in a wide area, off the right flank. She can also play in attacking midfield. So I'm not exactly sure what we're going to see Everton play yet. It could be a 3-4-3. It could be a 3-4-1-2. We saw them use both those formations last season. Obviously, the 3-4-3 looks a bit more like a 5-4-1 when they don't have the ball. So, yeah, I think we might see them use... I'm not sure which of those two we're going to see them use yet, but we're fairly confident it'll be a 3-back. But yeah, I think Payne comes in. A decent signing. We'll be intrigued to see how she adapts to the WSL.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the main question, isn't it? Can she, adjust to that step up? If she can, it'll be a very decent addition. If she can't, it will be one of those where it doesn't really work out. It'll be a frustrating transfer. But hopefully, for Everton's sake, she can adjust to the league quite quickly.
Yeah, then someone we know won't need time to adjust to the league is Hanoko Hayashi, joining from West Ham. We've got her FBref profile up, and it does make me question a little bit why have West Ham let her go? Because when you look at the underlying numbers, yes, her pass completion is quite high, yes, she carries the ball quite well, but overall, there are huge gaps in her game, and I think, though, coming into Everton may address some of those, because if she is playing in a more defensive system, those tackles will be higher, those interceptions will be higher. I think West Ham were a little bit porous last season, whereas Everton's side, you could argue, are better, but it's marginal at best, the difference between the two sides at the moment, and you've got to question, one, why would West Ham let her go, and two, why would she want to leave? Maybe she thinks there's a better project at Everton, and that may well be the case, but it's an intriguing one.
It's one of those where for Hayashi it's a sidestep, and for Everton it isn't a signing that necessarily makes you stronger, that increases your level. If she comes in and plays well, then maybe she will. But I don't know. It just feels like one of those where it's a decent addition, and she probably will do decently. But I'm not expecting to be sat in a couple of months and go, "Oh, that's a great transfer."
Well, maybe we will.
Maybe
we'll have to see. Up next, then, Melissa Lawley joining from Liverpool, crossing the Merseyside divide. This is an interesting one. I think it's a decent attacking option. Someone who performed well in the small amount of minutes she was given by Liverpool last season, or a decent number of minutes, but there is a lot of competition for places there, so you can understand why she would want to leave. It's a big decision to join Everton. I know it's not as big as it is in the men's game with the rivalry there, but you are still crossing the divide. It's going to be interesting to see how she does. I think if she can start scoring a bit more regularly for Everton, then that will be helpful, but Everton lacked goals last season. She needs to come in and provide them.
And this is if you're going to buy from within WSL, these are the deals that Everton will want to make. These are players that are dropping down. Lawley is dropping from a Liverpool side that are better than Everton, and Lawley's the type of signing that makes Brighton better. Makes Everton better. Yeah. So that's definitely it's positive. It's a positive signing, and I hope it works out for Everton.
Yeah, and then another transfer they've made from within the WSL, Beatrice Sari coming in from Brighton. We've got Sari's profile up on screen now. She's a player who can play on the left wing, can also play in central areas, attacking midfield, central midfield. I think we'll either, depending on whether Everton play a front three or an attacking midfielder and two strikers, we'll either see her on the left wing or in attacking midfield. But this is quite a decent coup. I thought Brighton were decent last season. I get that with Pauli and Bremer there, perhaps Sari was looking for a move away, but I think this is a decent sign. The Greek winger, 26 years old, still some decent time left on her career. Yeah. I think she's a player who can come in and make a real difference for Everton. Yeah, be a bit of a creative outlet that might give them their attacking players more chances, and they might score more goals for them.
Potentially, yeah. I think this is a signing that does help Everton in that attacking department. Just increases that quality, increases that creativity, and hopefully, again, she can hit the ground running. It's WSL experience. I think that is the main thing with Hayashi, with Lawley, with Sari. You're bringing in players who play in the WSL, so they haven't got to come in and adjust to the league, because that's what can cost you sometimes. You can lose points early on in the season if you've got loads of signings who are trying to adapt, like Brighton probably will have that problem. But for Everton, they're bringing in WSL experience, which is crucial.
Yeah, definitely. And then their final signing, most recent signing, Ima Gabaro. She tends to play on the left flank or as a striker. She comes in again from Sevilla. So clearly the Everton scouts are having a lovely holiday in Seville at the moment. But yeah, it's a decent addition. And again, she'll have that connection with Tony Payne.
Yes.
So that's another, we're talking about, can they keep this squad continuity and understanding and cohesion close together? Well, bringing in players that are familiar with one another is a very surefire way to do that. So yeah, positive stuff. Let's have a look then at how we think Everton will line up. So, how their squad has been composed. I put it in a 3-4-1-2 because I think that's where their recruitment seems to be going. I know obviously Sari's a winger, Payne's a winger, Gabaro more of a winger, but they can play central areas and they have got a lot of forwards. So I think they'll probably play with 2 strikers now. So it's very difficult to differentiate between, if you were to play one striker, who starts out of Lawley and Snice. So they've got some big decisions to make there. Starting in goal then, they've got Courtney Brosnan, she'll continue in that role, and Ramsey. I thought Brosnan was okay last season, had some good games, but it's, I still question why not go and bring in Ines Pereira. Why not why not give her a shot?
I think Brosnan is a good goalkeeper, she's a good shot stopper, and if you are going to concede loads of chances, she does keep some out for Everton. But as you say, if you've brought in Pereira, I don't think there's much in between them, and if there is, it's maybe in Pereira's favour. So it does seem like a bizarre one to bring Pereira in and then loan her out, but Brosnan's a very capable goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely so. Looking at the defence then, at left centre-half, we'll see them rotate between Holmgard and Stenovic. Stenovic can also play that central position, so they've got good cover there for Finnegan, who we think will start in that central role. Then at right centre-half, they've got Justine van Havermet, who played a lot towards the end of the season at right centre-half.
Yeah.
Whether she'll continue in that role, I don't know. She's definitely better further forward, but they don't have a whole lot of centre-halves, because Weir, who's her backup, is a youngster. So unless Sorensen's considering going to a fullback this season, and because they have got the midfielders now for it, with Garley, with Wheeler, with Hayashi, with Van Havermet, they could play a 4-3-3. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see whether they do choose to do that or not, or something like a 4-2-3-1. They could also, they could do that. Then at wing-backs, at right wing-back, I think Heather Payne and Hope, both of them played a lot of WSL minutes last season. They rotated in that role quite regularly, and I think they'll continue to do that. Nothing points towards them not doing that. The other thing is that Payne can play right centre-half, so if they were playing Hope and they were playing Payne, then that could work. Sorry, I think Hope can play right centre-half, Payne can play further forwards. Yeah. So they've got a lot of fluidity there. I know they haven't got a whole load of options at right wing, but they could use Payne there, Hope at right wing-back, if they were playing that 3-4-3. At left wing back, they are quite light at the moment. They've got Karen Holmgard. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw someone like Sari play out there. We know Aurora Garley has played out there before as well, so they have got options there. Moving on to midfield and talking about Garley, I think they'll probably start with Garley and Hayashi. I think that's probably their strongest midfield without Van Havermet playing there. They've also got options of Wheeler and Ollison, so they've got midfield depth. I think they're okay in that regard. Then the attackers, they seem to have quite a number of. In attacking midfield, we'll see Sari, Madsen and Tony Payne. This is if they do if they do play that 3-4-1-2. I think they're the options we'll tend to see line up in attack midfield. Sari, Madsen, both good off the left-hand side, Payne on the right-hand side. So if they did play a front three, they have got the players to make that work. Then in the striking department, I think they'll start Lawley and Snice up front together. That's a fairly lethal partnership. It's quite a good partnership, so we'll be intrigued to see how that works out for them. They've also got off the bench Bissell and Gabaro, though, so it's going to come together for Everton, but I do just have some doubts about the fact they slipped off last season and the number of goals they scored.
Well, that's the thing. It's about addressing that numbers of the lack of goals. But I look at this side. They've got the creators now, and they've got the forwards. Lawley and Snice are good enough to put up decent numbers. Realistically, they should be looking probably between 5 to 10 goals each in the season. And if you can say you could say that if your strike partnership puts up anything above 11, 12, 13. That's not too bad. And then if other people are picking up goals, That's decent goal numbers, and they've got the creators in there now. If they can get those players on the ball and get them creating chances, you've got the quality up front to score those goals. So Everton, for me, on paper, they should find the back of the net a lot more often than they did last season. But again, we don't know if that will translate into the matches.
Yeah, it just feels like they lack the star striker that these other teams seem to have. With West Ham, they can rely on Vivian Asai and Ueke as well to offer goal threat. You know, at Brighton last season they had Turland. This season they've got Kiko Seike, who I think is quite a decent forward. They've also got other players like Bremer, like Bruno Villamaya, and Frank Kirby now as well. So a lot of decent signings for them this window. Crystal Palace, they've got Elise Hughes. So a lot of the other rivals, Leicester have just signed Mouchon. A lot of these other rivals have these really exciting strikers. I just don't know. Do Lawley and Snoyce offer you that same goal threat? Possibly, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Then the first 5 games for Everton, it's a mixed start to the season. They start with an away trip to Brighton, which for me is a really crucial game.
Yep.
They want to get off on a good foot. If they do lose that match, and then they face Manchester United and Arsenal, they could be sat on 0 points in 3 matches, and suddenly the pressure's on when it really shouldn't be when they play West Ham in game week 4.
Yeah.
United Arsenal pretty much write-offs. Maybe they'll get something, they'll give it their best shot, but in a realistic world, they're going to lose those matches.
Yeah.
The big games, though, come for them in match week 4 and 5, where they face West Ham and Leicester. 1, 4 and 5, match weeks 1, 4 and 5 for Everton this season, so important. Brighton, West Ham, Leicester. All 3 sides who they've been around the last few seasons, who they will be around, we expect this season once again. They've got to be victories, or at least picking up points. They can't afford to lose those matches. If not, I think they find themselves in a really tough spot.
Yeah, I think as first 5 goes, it's not too bad. You know, you've only got one of the top 3 in there. And then you've only got two, and then if you count Arsenal as well, you've only got 2 of the top 5, which isn't too bad. You know, if you look at some teams, they've got some horrible runs, but for Everton,
it's difficult to have a more difficult run than anyone else, isn't it? I think most teams got quite similar runs. It would be depending on how good these top teams are.
Yeah.
If United are having a slow start to the season, lovely stuff.
But realistically, there is a chance you can pick up Chelsea, City, and Liverpool. And then suddenly that's a horrible run.
Yeah.
But yeah, realistically, Everton will aim for at least 7 points, if not 9.
Yeah, I think that's Arsenal's run, isn't it? Chelsea, City, and Liverpool.
Yeah, so they've got a fun
horrible run.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's Everton will want to get points on the board in this first 5.
Yeah, definitely. So there's some nice fixtures in there, especially at home to West Ham.
Yeah,
really nice fixture. And they need to get something against Brighton and Leicester as well. But yeah, I think I have some doubts going into the season for Everton. I think the sides around them have improved massively, while Everton haven't really had the same sort of strong transfer window. So I think there are some doubts there. But I think Payne can come in and have a really good impact. I think Lawley is a decent signing. I think Sarri could have an impact. We'll see what Hayashi does. Yeah. They're not bad transfers. They're just not the sort of transfers that, get you jumping out of bed in the morning. They get Leicester fans really excited. Everton fans. They are just okay signings. So yeah, I think they've done okay in the market, Everton, but they've lost Piemonte, and I think that loss, we'll see if that loss is a big impact. But yeah, I do have some doubts going into the season for Everton. But I guess we'll see whether they can be remedied in the opening match weeks. I still think Everton fans should be approaching the season with belief. You've got to do that in football, but I do think it could be another drop-off. And they've got to be wary with Crystal Palace coming up and offering a lot of quality. That relegation isn't a foregone conclusion this season like it was last year with Bristol City picking up like 7 points or something. So they've got to be wary of that. I think they've got to have one eye over their shoulder and hope they're not getting dragged into that. But I do think if they are dragged into it, Brian Sorenson's a good enough coach to get them out of it. I think he's a decent manager, and he showed at times last season where they can fight against some big sides. So yeah, will be interesting to see. But I think that is everything for today's video. If you have enjoyed, then do make sure to leave a like and get involved in the comments down below. And again, we are previewing every single WSL side, so if you do look out for the other ones, we've already posted 4 or 5 already, so go and watch those and look out for the next over the coming weeks. But that is everything from us today. Make sure to check out the video on screen now if you want to watch more. That'll be yesterday's preview of Crystal Palace, I believe, so go and give that a watch. But that is everything for us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.